Okay. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to ask you to stand, please. Welcome. Tonight's soloist for the national anthem is 11-year-old Samantha Antonio. Samantha is in grade 6 at St. Vincent de Paul School and is a big sister to her brother Lucas. Samantha began singing at a very early age and currently performs in a band known as Soundcheck. And the other 6 members of the band are all boys, by the way. And the Soundcheck has already performed at Canada Day, at various music recitals, school dances, fundraisers, mostly memorably at the Adam Vita Turner charity, and also different dances. And this time in her young life, Samantha aspires to be a kindergarten teacher, where she feels her love for singing will be a definite asset. So we'd like to thank you, Samantha, for sharing with us your version of the national anthem, and welcome to council.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, our true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land, glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you very much, Samantha. On behalf of the board, actually on behalf of the members of council, it was a great national anthem. You're going places for sure, so thank you so much for your contribution this evening. Appreciate it. I'd like to call on Councillor Mays for the prayer, please.
Let's recite the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
The first item on the agenda of members of council is the adoption of the council minutes of November 26, 2007. I have a motion to adopt the same. Councillor Mays and Councillor Fisher. Any changes or deletions? Councillor Wing?
Just a correction to page 8. The conflict that I declared and shown on page 1, I did not vote on that matter, and it doesn't reflect that on page 8.
Okay.
So it just needs to say that I didn't vote.
Thank you. Any other changes? Having seen none, all those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. This time I'm going to ask for any disclosures of a pecuniary interest and from any members of council. Yes, Councillor Wing and Councillor Iannoni.
From Community Services earlier this evening, report PD 2007-99, only the parts of the Eastern Gateway portion of that report as they affect the Niagara Parks Commission lands.
Okay, so noted. Thank you. Councillor Iannoni.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Check 314914 is made out to my spouse.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Carrio, sorry, and Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. On BBS, under the consent agenda, 2007-8, indexing of city development charges, the pending litigation on the development charges.
So noted. Thank you.
L 2007-54, option to purchase the Monastery of Mount Carmel, and 1149948, Ontario Limited, the Niagara Convention Center purchase the property that's very close to that.
Okay, thank you very much. And Councillor Thompson.
Yes, report 2007-132, neighborhood of St. David's, where I reside.
Okay, so noted. I have a conflict with check numbers 314833 and 315508 payable to myself. Before we begin the deputations, members of council, recently Councilor Ioannoni undertook an initiative, and she wants to share with us what that is, and because it's of a timely nature, I hope that you won't mind. She'll take 1 or 2 minutes just to give you an idea of what we're doing this evening. So, Councilor Ioannoni, can I call you forth with Councilor Wing to unroll the banner that you have? Maybe you can explain first of all.
Yeah, first I'd like to explain, I'd like to thank the Review for the article they put in the paper today in regards to spreading some Christmas cheer to soldiers, and I'd like to thank all of council for the unanimous support last week. What we tried to do as a council and a city is send Christmas parcels, as many as we could put together through the business community and the residential community, to the soldiers in both Cabal and, in Kandahar. And, you know, it was rolling along really great until I got a call from the Army itself to say, just so that you're clear, we issued a press release last night because we were working on delivering things to Trenton. The press release released on Thursday night was we are no longer receiving or accepting any care packages from anybody in regards to going over to the soldiers. A unique problem to have, they had more than enough to send over. They ran out of space on their planes, and they were entering into a security issue that they wouldn't be able to clear everything that was going over. But in redirecting our forward thinking there, he did highlight that they are accepting Christmas cards, postcards, and letters. And it's very sad to hear that, you know, sometimes a Christmas card or a letter or a postcard from a community would be the highlight of somebody's day on Christmas, but these guys are posting them all over their bases. So I would like to ask the residents, the City of Niagara Falls is trying to send en masse as many possible greetings from the residents and the corporation as we possibly can. I will give 2 addresses. It can be addressed to any Canadian Forces member. And there are 2 operations to highlight. Operation Athena, Athena, and it will be going, or anybody who's sitting at home and wants to send it to P.O. Box 5058, Station Forces, Belleville, Ontario, K8N 5W6. The second, and that is going to Kandahar, and the second is Operation Archer, again, addressed to any Canadian Forces member, to the same address, and it's to be highlighted Kabul, Kabul 100, and that's going to Kabul, Afghanistan. I'd like to say that I'd like to thank Walmart, because Walmart in the front of the store put up, and Carrie Campbell from the mayor's office, who's been phenomenal the last week, created mailboxes. It's in the front of Walmart. If you're at Walmart and you want to purchase a Christmas card or drop off a letter to the soldiers, the boxes in the front there, we'd like to mail them en masse. It's also at the community center. We have a huge giant Christmas card to our troops, Merry Christmas. We're going to show you the first one that filled up very quickly. We have the second one up there. We're also going to put one here for the mayor and members of council and our staff to sign today. And anybody in the gallery who's signed to our Canadian Forces, we're going to put it out on the table out there, and you can sign it as you leave. Just uplifting Merry Christmas, thank you for serving, and that type of message. I'd also like to highlight that it can be dropped off at, I spoke to the Legion today, and they can drop it off in a box that will be at the Valleyway Street Legion. I spoke to Helen this afternoon. And I'd just like to thank everybody who came forward to do this, and thank council, because I think if we could make at least even one troop's Christmas brighter, when you consider our biggest initiative through Christmas is trying to find the get-to gift that your Santa's bringing, that this is a small thing that we can do. So I encourage everybody to participate, and Alderman Wing and I will show you how many people came out at the community center. And Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to highlight the participation of the Mayor's Youth Advisory, who's been really good in all this also. This is the paper that was up for 3 days. You can see there's no room for any more signatures. And that's just 3 days in the community center, library users, water users, community group users. There's another one up there now. If you haven't signed it, please go sign it up, looking message to our soldiers. And ours will also be available here at City Hall to sign. So I'd like to thank everybody and thank council, and let's hope we get as many as possible. And just to highlight one more thing, Mr. Mayor, I did get an email from the District School Board of Niagara just as I was leaving. They are encouraging every school in the entire region to participate in this initiative. School and World Pearl High actually sent theirs out last Friday. The schools in Niagara Falls are being encouraged to drop them off here, so it can be included in our letter drive, and it's going to go out across the entire region now. So hopefully we can send tens of thousands just from the kids here. So I'd like to thank everybody and everybody for their support.
And just to remind you that there will be a banner placed at the table outside the doors of the chamber, so hopefully when you do exit today, you'll be taking the time to sign the banner as well. So.
One more thing. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. The paper also encouraged the fact that the gentleman from the Army in the public relations did encourage the fact that their coffee fund is allowed, so they're encouraging donations of Tim Hortons gift certificates. I think we ran into a little snag because they can be included in the card and they can be delivered. There's two set up, one in Thrall, one in Kandahar, but it has to be the actual gift certificate, not the new swipe card that they're offering. They're not set up for the swipe card. So if you're going into Tim Hortons and you're looking to donate for to include in our cards, let the owner know you're looking for actual gift certificates, not the swipe card, and what it's for, and they can possibly get them for you. So for anybody looking to go to do that, I just wanted to declare that.
Thank you for that additional information. The first deputation we have this evening, members of council, is from the Board of Museums. This evening we have Don Jackson and Gord West. We're going to make a presentation. And also other members of the Museums Board are here with us. Kathleen Powell is here and John as well. I'd like to have them come forward, please, to talk about a new fundraising project called the Legacy Wall and the plans for the expansion at Lundy's Lane Historical Museum. So welcome to you, Gord West, and it's yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, Your Worship. Members of Council, thank you for letting us come before you this evening. I'm Gord West. Don Jackson will talk later, just in case. I'm Chair of the Board, and with me tonight, as Worship has said, John Harkness is here from the Board, and Kathy, of course, who comes with me everywhere just to make sure that I don't mess up when I'm talking to you about things. Tonight we're here to update you, as we promised, on the things that are going on with the museum. Particularly tonight, we're going to talk about our fundraising efforts. You may remember we had a small fundraising effort that ended last February when we gave away the Mustang. And I'm sorry it didn't put anyone here. Every time I mention it, somebody here says yes, they didn't get it. Well, it went to a very deserving member of the community, of the historical community, as a matter of fact, which was very nice. And he has made good use of it. So tonight, we're going to update you on our efforts, because this is part of, the fundraising is part of a couple of the goals that we set for ourselves, that is to expand the Lundy's Lane Historical Museum, as we have talked about for some years, and to also improve the battleground. As you know, we've talked to you about the bicentennial of the War of 1812, which of course is coming up, and we wish to have everything in place by that time. Don Jackson, you have seen before raising money for other things, and he is very kindly chairing our fundraising committee. So he will talk to you about our efforts, and we will work together perhaps and answer any questions that you may have. So Don, if you will.
Thanks very much, Gord. Your Worship, Mayor Southey, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen, here I am back again talking about fundraising in a little different costume this time, but nonetheless on the same issue. People that know me well, when I tell them I'm involved in fundraising, they just sort of shake their head and wonder how I could ever be involved in that kind of thing. I was the kind of kid growing up that had real difficulty asking my father for a raise in my allowance. So how I could possibly approach people to help out the funding of worthwhile causes, they can't quite understand. I tell you, it's a matter of commitment and believing in the project that in which you're involved. And one of the projects for which I have a great passion is our Niagara Falls Historical Museum, located not on Lundy's Lane, but on Ferry Street, nonetheless called Lundy's Lane Historical Museum. We plan to have an addition and renovation to that wonderful historic building done in time for the bicentennial of the Battle of Lundy's Lane and the War of 1812. Our timelines are really tight, but we definitely plan to do that. Why on earth do we need to do anything to that particular building? Well, I can tell you for a fact that the museum is bursting at the seams. The collection that museum has continues to expand almost on a daily basis. We have no place left to store, and we certainly have no place left for major displays. Not only the displays of the materials that are in our possession, but also traveling exhibits and so on. You know how short we are for space. We enjoy doing it, but just outside the doors of the council chambers, there is a very significant display of artifacts owned by the city and belonging to the Lundy's Lane Historical Museum. So we need the space. The building, if you have been in it recently, you will know that it needs some updating. It's 133 years old now, the former Stanford Township Hall, and it's in great need of some tender, loving care and some updating to bring it into the kind of facility that current museums of today have for display purposes. We need to make that building accessible. There are far too many people who are not able to take advantage of the museum because it is not accessible. Not only is it difficult to access the main floor, but of course the second floor is virtually impossible. So the addition will include accessibility features. And finally, and this is what I think is so exciting, this addition is going to house an interpretive center for the Lundy's Lane battlefield, to provide a legacy for that particular battle, which was the last major one fought in the War of 1812. I envisage busloads of heritage tourists pulling up to this newly renovated building, taking advantage of audiovisual presentations that will set the stage for them to do self-guided tours on the battlefield site, go up into Lundy's Lane Cemetery, go to the Battleground Hotel. It's a wonderful opportunity, but we need the space, we need the opportunity to do that. So where's this money coming from? You've heard about the work that we did last time round with our good old 1964 and a half Mustang. We are developing and have developed a legacy wall. That legacy wall was formally unveiled this morning at a special ceremony. Mayor Celsi was there to talk to the issue and to formally pull the covering away from this wonderful wall, which will honor the memory of people who have come before us, and their names will live on forever as an enduring part of the history of the city of Niagara Falls. We often think of museums just as places to put things, artifacts, behind glass or hang on the wall or something like that. But museums are more than things. Museums are people. And it's people that have made Niagara Falls what it is today, and that is that those people are the ones that we are going to honor by putting their names up on this particular legacy wall. There are people of any pardon my hesitation here. There are people from any walk of life, not just the people who have made the big splash in the community, but those who in their own personal way have done things to build the fabric of the city that we know today. The picture on your right there, I think, I'm not too sure, I think it's either Councillor Diodati or Councillor Peter Angelo before they had their head shaved and their facial beard. But they too, someday, may be recognized on this wall. We don't want to just recognize our community superheroes, but we want to recognize those who choose to live their lives outside the public eye, but whose contributions are every bit as important to making Niagara Falls what it is today. The program itself will involves the purchase of plaques of differing sizes and with differing amounts of prose on them. I've given everybody a copy of the Legacy Wall brochure, and that brochure describes 3 of the particular programs that are available. In addition, we've added a 4th one, which in fact starts at a $75 contribution, and it will honor and remember the name and the dates of those people who passed through our city and made this contribution to the city of Niagara Falls. How do people do this? At the time of the loss of a loved one, some families may choose the Lundy's Lane Historical Museum as the charity of choice, and they will so issue that notice along with the obituary. And donations that are made at the funeral home will be directed to the Lundy's Lane Historical Museum for this particular purpose. The family itself may choose to purchase a plaque in memory of a loved one who has just passed away. Or in fact, after a period of time, whether it's weeks or several months or even several years, they may decide that they're going to purchase a plaque as an in memoriam remembrance of a loved one from their family. In memoriams in the newspaper are wonderful. They're absolutely very important to the families who put them there. But the other aspect of that to remember is that this plaque that will be purchased will be on that wall forever. It will always be there as a remembrance to anyone who comes to visit our museum. We have the full support of all of the funeral homes in Niagara Falls. There is obviously a full tax receipt available for donations. It's Christmas time, and this might be a wonderful time to consider the purchase of a plaque. But I think what we have to remember is that plaque can be for people from any walk of life, and what it will go towards is the capital expansion of the museum. What you see on the screen right now is a very preliminary first rendering of what potentially could happen to the building itself. This is by no means the final drawing. We are in the midst of updating a feasibility study that was done 20 years ago and that was endorsed by the council of that day, but in the intervening years became less of a priority. We are, as a museum board, taking the responsibility to ensure that this dream does actually come true and that it will be a wonderful community museum for the residents of this city. Thank you very much. Oh, I must say one more thing. Sorry, Mr. Mayor. At the induction ceremony this morning, we unveiled 2 plaques. We have a number of people who are in the process of purchasing plaques, but we unveiled 2 plaques. And I think it's important to know that the first one was purchased by Ruth Redmond's sister, and is purchased in her honor, and is the $1,500 plaque. The second plaque that was unveiled is purchased by an employee of the Lundy's Lane Historical Museum in honor of her father, and it shows the different ranges of plaques and donations that are available for people to purchase. So thank you very much for your time, and we hope that you will pass the good word that this is a wonderful way for people to contribute to the dream of an expanded museum.
Well, Don, thank you once again for your unrelenting efforts in fundraising in our city. I want to commend both you and certainly Gord West, along with Kathleen, Paul, and John, for being here. There may be some questions by members of council. Any questions of the group from Museum Board tonight? No?
Well, that's
We're
very
good?
nice. Thank you very much.
You got off easy, but thank you very much for your
If I
efforts.
just may, on a personal note, I wanted to thank Carolyn Iannone for what she has just done, having a son who learned how to drink coffee in Kandahar. You cannot believe how important it is to get those things. Thank you.
Certificates?
Anything at all. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Coffee is good. You like coffee.
Thank you very much again. The next deputation, we have a presentation this evening by the co-chairs of the Park and the City Committee, who will be presenting to Stamford Center Volunteer Firemen's Association the 2007 Environmental Award. And I'm going to ask both the co-chairs to come forward, please, if I may. Councillor Peter Angelo and Councillor Wing. And if you can come forward to the middle, along with the representatives from the Stamford Center Volunteer Firemen's Association. Both Mike Sirianni is president and Bernie Roosevelt. Welcome. The Park and the City Committee have selected the Stamford Center Volunteer Firemen's Association to receive the city's 2007 Environment Award. The award is presented annually to individuals, groups, or agencies who have made outstanding contributions in protecting and enhancing our natural environment. The following highlights their accomplishments. The Stamford Center Volunteer Firemen's Association opened Firemen's Park in 1962 for the community to enjoy, and the community use of the park is free. The SFCVA invested more than $650,000 in the upper section of Firemen's Park, and unfortunately, in 2005, the Firemen's Park's fully accessible playground was opened through the partnership with our City of Niagara Falls. And following that, we have the Firemen's Park, including a unique fire engine-themed playground, picnic tables, and landscaping at the use of the residents of the City of Niagara Falls. There's also a spacious amphitheater there. The park is enjoyed by many individuals, families, and community groups, and also by hikers who pass through the Bruce Trail. Each year, the SCFBA hosts an annual Easter egg hunt attracting hundreds of children and families, and raises money for both Project Share and to help with the park upkeep. The park is also enjoyed by the Niagara Falls Nature Club and the Royal Astronomical Society. The SCFBA have worked with the Ministry of the Environment and the Ontario Children's Foundation to develop improvements to the park. Reforestation of the once verdant escarpment continues with their Plant a Tree program, offering everyone the opportunity to have a memorial tree planted. The association also helps within our community by offering bursaries to students from local high schools, and the SCFVFA are proud sponsors of sports teams as well. They also honor special requests by various local organizations and assist in purchasing equipment for those with special needs. So the Stamford Center Volunteer Firemen's Association has an active membership of more than 80 members ranging from age 23 to 91 years. Their community environmental commitment is to be commended. And congratulations to the Stamford Center Volunteer Firemen's Association on being selected to receive the 2007 City of Niagara Falls Environment Award. On behalf of members of council presenting the plaque, he is saying that the City of Niagara Falls Environment Award presented the Stamford Center Volunteer Firemen's Association for outstanding leadership, dedication, and commitment to creating Stamford Volunteer Firemen's Association Park and Playground. in order to preserve and protect the green space in the city of Niagara Falls, signed by myself and members of council this very day. Mr. President, congratulations. And Bernie, thank you. Would you like to say a few words?
Bernie, you want to say something?
Well, we're now 85 years old, and more than half of our time with Fireman's Park of 45 years has brought some excellent use for the park. And as mentioned by the Mayor, the park is used for free by clubs such as the Royal Astronomical Society, the hikers of Bruce Trail, the general public, and we have a lot more things that we'll grow with. And we no longer fight fires in Niagara Falls, as a lot of you know. We have the name, but we'll never fight a fire in our life anymore. And perhaps one day in the future you'll see more growth, and through leadership like Mike can bring bigger things out there. We'll see Fireman's Park become an integral part of our parks in Niagara Falls.
Thank you very much again.
One more for Big Left.
I'd like to ask the clerk to introduce the next item on the agenda, please.
A public meeting is now being convened to consider a proposed amendment to the city's zoning bylaw at the various addresses on McLeod Road to permit 3 additional dwelling units in the building currently under construction on the lands, and to permit a second 4-story 12-unit apartment dwelling. Notice was given by first-class mail in accordance with the Planning Act on Friday, November 9th, 2007, and by posting a sign on the property in question. Anyone who wants notice of the passage of the zoning bylaw amendment or to participate in any site plan process, if applicable, shall leave their name on the sign-in sheets outside the council chamber.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to ask the planning director to explain the purpose and the reason for the proposed bylaw amendment. Mr. Hurlovich.
Thank you, Your Worship. As the clerk has outlined, this is an application to rezone a property under construction, as well as to permit a second apartment building to be constructed on the lands for a total of 72 units. The location map shows that 4 properties are involved. The 2 deeper properties are the lands where the existing building under construction is located. The other 2 lots are the lands that the owner wishes to now develop with a second apartment building. They're located on the north side of McLeod Road, west of Dell Avenue. The majority of the lands in the surrounding area are detached dwellings, although the lands on McLeod Road are zone TRM, which is a zone for future multiple family development. The background behind this particular project is that Council in 2000 approved a 4.5-story building on the site for 54 apartment units. They later went to Committee of Adjustment, received approval for an additional 3 units to be added into this building. This was accommodated within the existing structure because of the sloped roof on the building. The applicant now wishes to add 3 more units to bring the total of 60 units in that building that's under construction, and as I mentioned, construct a second building which would have 12 units on it. The site plan shows the building under construction with the cross-hatching. The parking is largely underground for that particular facility, but there are surface parking spaces as well. The building on the right-hand side, colored in solid red, is the proposed 4-story building with 12 units, and that would be serviced with surface parking as is shown on the particular site plan. The lands are designated residential under the official plan. The official plan permits up to 75 units a hectare, or 30 units an acre. As well, they should be located on arterial roads, close to commercial uses, public transit, etc. In reviewing this application, the planning department found that the proposal did comply with all of these aspects of the proposal. And looking at the zoning, the lands are zoned, let's skip ahead here. The lands are zoned R5B with a special provision to recognize that existing building that I've already outlined, and the other lands, the two smaller lots, are zoned TRM, transitional residential multiple. So those lands will also be incorporated into the special R5B zone. There will be site-specific setbacks that apply to this particular development, including there's a 15 meters setback, 50 feet in the north side of that new building to protect the abutting residential properties to the north and to form a buffer, as well as will incorporate the height provisions and density provisions that were previously granted by the Committee of Adjustment. Therefore, the Planning Department, we've got a few more things to say here. Parking spaces on the property as well, they're seeking to change. The municipal standard is 1.4 parking spaces per multiple family unit or apartment unit. When the original 52-unit building was put through, the applicant had the equivalent of 1.5 spaces per dwelling that was built into the bylaw. They're now proposing 1.4, which is the city standard. This is sufficient to meet the needs. As well, the landscaping on the site has gone from 45 to 39. There's not a change for the larger of the two buildings, but because of the amount of surface parking, it's 39%. 40% is the typical standard. So we're satisfied that this particular development meets the intent of the official plan. The Planning Department, therefore, is recommending that this particular development be supported. It complies with the provincial growth policies, which encourage intensification in our built boundaries. The units are under construction. The units that are going to be put into the existing building under construction don't change its massing, its form or structure. And the second building is well set back from the abutting residences. So we're supporting the zone change that has been requested. That's the highlights of this application.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hilovich. And once again, members of the public are advised that failure to make an oral or written submission at this public meeting could result in the Ontario Municipal Board dismissing any referral it receives if the party has not made an oral or written submission at this public meeting. Council will hear from anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw amendment. Is there anyone present other than the applicant who wishes to speak to this amendment? Is there anyone other than the applicant wishing to speak to this matter? Having seen none, then council will now hear from the applicant or his representative. And for the record, could you give us your name, please, and address?
Yes. Yes. Lou Marcantonio from 2M Architects, 115 Lake Street, St. Catharines.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Okay. All right. Good evening, Your Worship, members of council, the staff, and guests. I'm not going to say a lot because we're very pleased with the process we went through with planning. It was a good back and forth process to arrive at this project, and we're happy with the report that they presented. The proposal, as in the report, satisfies needs for more residential accommodation, more density within existing land that we have. Materials and colors and textures, they don't talk about that, but it'll be very similar to what's there or what's being constructed now, which is a combination of brick and stone, a small bit of a plaster stucco, and all metals would be pre-finished, so low maintenance. As always, the Pingu family who's involved in this project, we're very happy working with them, and we know that they do what they tell us they promise to do. And I would be glad to entertain any questions.
Thank you very much. We do have a few questions from Council, Mr. Marcantonio. Councilor Fisher?
Thank you. I was here in 2000 when we approved this, but it's my recollection when we approved this that Mr. Pingu also supported that he would financially support stop signs. Direction.
Mr. Pingu,
Stop lights, sorry. So I'm asking you, when would this project be completed, and when would the stop lights be put in place?
Mr. Pinga, could you address that?
Your Worship, member of the council, you are correct. There was some dispute from the neighbor that would cause some traffic, and was considered by putting a light, and I offered myself that I was willing to contribute to $25,000 toward that project. And after that, I was told that it was a regional responsibility, and there is certain charge on a permit that covers that, but I'm still standing by what I promised. If the city's there, the city's willing to put the light there, still contribute the $25,000 toward that project. That I will do it.
Sir, I thought it was more than that. I really did.
I did offer $25,000.
I think if we go back to the records, I would like to see the records that at that time. And certainly, I think it's absolutely crucial that lights go there, and it was my belief that it was much, much more money.
Yes, the amount of money was more, yes, but I offer to pay $25,000.
And Councilor Fisher, it's a regional road. I know there's going to be an EA completed on the road, and I don't know if our Director of Public Works can address that, or the planner. Transportation?
But my question is, will the lights be there in time for the project to open? Because that's where the school buses turn.
Yeah.
And it's up, and not only buses, but the people taking their children to
Let's see if we
Notre-Dame-de-la-Jeunesse.
can get an answer for you from Mr. Dren. Mr. Dren?
The answer on that is, you know, it's really the region that's put forward. We're going to be reviewing the road to say it'd be there, you know, by the time the project's finished. I don't think that would occur. But again, we can pose that to the region.
Yeah.
And the region did take their 10-foot widening, and they've reviewed this, and I guess it is in their hands at this point. And Mr. Pingu was happy to contribute towards it if that's... We did realign it so that the roads line up, so that, like the road across the street lines up with our entrance, so that if there is a light, everything works really well. But I guess it's the next step they need to go through.
So could we get a report back soon from the region?
Mr. Dren?
I thank you very much.
Okay. Are there any other questions from members of council? Okay, having seen none, then, at this time, I'm going to conclude the meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, and the pleasure of council. Yes, Councilor Diodati? Move the recommendation. Second by Councilor Pietrangelo. Any further discussion? Having seen none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Marcantonio. Mr. Finger, do you want to say
Your
something?
Worship, a member of the council, I'd like to say thank you to the planning. Alex and all of the committee worked the last 2 months with our architect. Each time we came back, they always like a little extra green here and there, but that's the green that I like it. And we cooperated to work together, and it was a great pleasure to work with you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bingo. I appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, could you introduce the next item on the agenda, please?
A public meeting is now being convened to consider a proposed amendment to the city's zoning bylaw at 6493 Orchard Avenue to permit the existing building to be converted into a 4-unit dwelling. Notice was given by first-class mail in accordance with the Planning Act on Friday, November 9th, 2007, and by posting a sign on the property in question. Anyone who wants notice of the passage of the zoning bylaw amendment or to participate in the site plan process, if applicable, shall leave their name on the signage sheets outside the council chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Once again, I'm going to ask the planning director to explain the purpose and the reason for the proposed bylaw amendment to Mr. Hilovich.
Thank you, Your Worship. The application is to rezone this property to permit the building to be converted into a 4-unit dwelling. That is, four apartment units would be constructed in this building. The property is located at the northwest corner of Dixon Street and Orchard Avenue. The surrounding land uses are predominantly single detached dwellings. The applicant has requested a change in the zoning bylaw for the property. It's about a third of an acre, about 12,000 square feet. The applicant is proposing to convert the existing building into 4 apartments. The building was originally used as a commercial building. Most recently, it was used as the firefighters' recreational club. That use ceased a number of years ago. It was bought by the current owner. The current owner operated a lodging house on the property, was unsuccessful in getting that approved as a use through a minor variance application. That is a change of use that the Committee of Adjustment can grant. As a result of the use for the lodging house, the fire and bylaw enforcement sections were called in. The use was ceased, and the building is not being used for any purpose at the moment, and it has lost its legal non-conforming status. The building is fairly significant in terms of its size. There are 3 apartment units proposed for the ground floor, and a 4th unit would be on the 2nd floor of the structure. By and large, the building is surrounded, or at least on 2 sides, the Orchard Avenue side and the Dixon Street side, by paved asphalt area. These areas are to be upgraded so that the Orchard Avenue area would become a front lawn for the building. The pavement would be removed, and the parking area along the south side of the building would be reconfigured to provide 6 spaces. That's 1.4 parking spaces per unit, and a new driveway to better control the access into this particular building. In terms of the planning policies, this land is designated residential in the official plan. The residential policies permit multiple family development up to a density of 50 units a hectare, or 20 units an acre. The development does comply with the official plan because Dixon Street is a collector road. The development is actually 12 units a hectare, or an acre, rather than the 28 units an acre that are allowed. And we also believe that the residential use will be more compatible than the private club that once operated on this particular property. The zoning on this property is to rezone the property from R1E to an R3 zone. That's a mixed residential zone. It is site-specific to recognize the 4 units in the existing building. Because the building is existing, it'll recognize the side yard setbacks, floor area, and coverage that are reflected on that property. We would also, as I've outlined earlier, recommend the removal of the paved parking area, and we would build those requirements in for required landscaping so that it assumes more of a residential appearance and is more in keeping with the character of the surrounding area. The region has identified the need for a record of site condition because the building was once used as a commercial enterprise. It's necessary to submit this record of site condition. If they don't do it before the bylaw is passed, then we would have to use a holding provision to require that the record of site condition be completed before the building could actually be converted for the multifamily use. Therefore, we're concluded that the rezoning of this property for a 4-unit apartment building is appropriate. We're recommending that the record of site condition be completed. There are some outstanding liens related to the fire and building enforcement issues, and those should be collected as well before the bylaw is passed by council. Therefore, we're recommending support of this application, and those are the highlights of this application.
Thank you, Mr. Harold. I have a question for Councilor Inoue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We got a petition handed to us with about 25 signatures from the residents in regards to this application, is it not? It would seem to me that a lot of the conditions attached in this application clear up a lot of the problems that are sitting there. So maybe we could ask was this submitted, or any of them here? Because to me, that this ties a lot of that up.
Who would you like to address that question to?
Maybe, I guess I'll wait till you ask people who are opposed, because maybe the people who submitted that are actually here.
Okay. Good. Once again, members of the public are advised that failure to make an oral or written submission at this public meeting could result in the Ontario Municipal Board dismissing any referral it receives if the party has not made an oral or written submission at this public meeting. Council will hear from anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak to the proposed bylaw amendment. Is there any present who would like to speak to the proposed bylaw amendment? Yes, please come forward.
Your Worship, Mr. Selsey, and members of council, good evening. My name is Lucy Cuviello. I reside at 5913 Churches Lane, and I'm here tonight representing my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Peter Bacca, from Dunn Street. They are the owners at 6492 Orchard Avenue, and they're directly in front of the old Firefighters Club. Certainly my parents, I want to make a note on record that they're not opposed to any developments of the land, any enhancements to the neighborhood. But the way it is now, the curb appeal is non-existent. The exterior of the building is derelict with graffiti splashed on the side of the walls. There's weeds running amok. I'd hate to see what the interior of the building is like. And months ago, I was present at a community of adjustment meeting where the applicant was there, and he said that he was going to, in good faith, try to restore the building. And it was being run illegally with things that shouldn't have been, present there. So thank God that didn't go through. Now here we are, and they're proposing this, 4-unit. The square footage on each of the units is like almost the size of a house. And my parents' concern is, like, how do you regulate the number of people per unit? Like, if this if the approval is granted, is it a done deal? Like, how do you prevent the overflow of people per unit? Like, there was quite a few people who were, living in it before. What if it's reverted illegally again and it's occupied as a lodging house? Then where do we stand? Do we have to go to a Property Standards Act? Do we have to go through another procedure for this?
that okay with you, Mr. Mears? Okay. Any further discussion? Having seen none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clerk, could you introduce the next item on the agenda, please?
The public meeting is now being convened to consider a proposed amendment to the city's zoning bylaw at 4030 Montrose Road to permit a proposed clinic. Notice was given by first-class mail in accordance with the Planning Act on Monday, November 19, 2007, and by posting a sign on the property in question. Anyone who wants notice of the passage of the zoning bylaw amendment or to participate in any site plan process if applicable shall leave their name on the sign-in sheets outside the council chamber.
And once again, I'm going to ask the planning director to explain the purpose and the reason for the proposed bylaw amendment. Mr. Hurlovich.
Thank you, Your Worship. This property is located on the south side of Coralstone Road and on the east side of Montrose Road. It involves anyway, the lands to the east are the on-ramp for the Queen Elizabeth Highway. To the north are Gale's Gas Bar, Harvey's restaurant. There is the car dealership to the south and the Casino Associate Center to the south as well. Residential dwellings back onto Montrose Road. The property is currently, anyway, the applicants wish to add a clinic as a use. The site currently permits a broad range of non-industrial uses, including offices, banks, dental office, and health center. That would be a fitness center, in addition to a number of light industrial uses. The lands are designated. Oh, here's the site plan. I'm trying to move this faster. The site plan has 2 buildings on the property now. The Burger King, there's a deli on the site, and the largest building is actually a multi-unit commercial building, and this is the building in which the proposed to add an existing, or add the clinic as a use. Clinic would be a medical facility for 2 or more physicians or licensed practitioners. The official plan designates the lands industrial. The industrial designation does permit for some additional uses, such as offices and complementary uses, which actually respond to the changing market conditions on the property. There are certain criteria that are required to be met, and this development does meet those. It's small in scale. It won't affect the Kent Industrial District. There are a number of commercial properties already on the site, and it forms a transition between the commercial properties to the north of Coralstone Road and the industrial lands to the south. The zoning is, as I mentioned, light industrial with a number of commercial uses already permitted. The proposal is then to add a clinic to the use. It's similar to the commercial uses that are already there, and specifically quite similar to a dental office, which is already permitted on the site. Therefore, we believe the use is appropriate for the site, and we are recommending support of this application.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hurlovich. And members of the public once again are advised that failure to make an oral written submission at this public meeting could result in the Ontario Municipal Board dismissing any referral it receives if the party has not made an oral written submission at this public meeting. Council will hear from anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak to this proposed bylaw amendment. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to this other than the applicant? Once again, anyone other than the applicant who wishes to speak to this matter? Okay, having seen none, then council will now hear from the applicant or his representative. No, let's just see what... Yeah. Just for the record, please give your name and address.
Simon Prentice, from J.J. Barney Commercial Real Estate, Niagara Falls, 6746 Morrison Street. I guess I could just reiterate what the intent is there. We're working with a number of local physicians, a group of 5 physicians, and they're also basically trying to pull together a plan based on what the ministry has pulled together, what they would like to see the future of medical, by pulling together social workers, nurse practitioner, 2 registered nurses, and a pharmacist. Not that there's going to be any pharmacy or dispensing of any drugs within the location, but just basically just having a pharmaceutical person oversee the district, or the recommendations from the doctors. And it is 5 physicians that are looking at the space to take it over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prentice. Are there any questions, Mr. Prentice, by members of council? Okay, having seen none, then the public meeting with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is now concluded. Pleasure of council, Councillor Naves and Councillor Carrier. Okay, any further discussion? Having seen none, all those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Under miscellaneous planning matters and resolutions, members of council, we do have some background with respect to a development on at 2634 St. Paul Avenue with regard to a proposed 18-unit townhouse dwelling. At this point, I'm going to ask our Director of Planning to give us some background, please, with respect to the resolution and the matter of the minor variances. Mr. Hurwitz?
Thank you, Your Worship. This is not a required meeting under the Planning Act. However, the planning office did give a notice to every property owner within 400 feet as a courtesy, so there could be members of the public here tonight who wish to speak. The lands are located on the east side of St. Paul Avenue, opposite Moretta Drive, and immediately north of Shane Crescent, which is a development of on-street townhouses. It backs onto Mountain Gate subdivision and abuts the hydro corridor on the north. We looked at the next slide. This shows again the location of the property. It's I believe 2 acres in size, 1.6 acres in size. The applicant is requesting that he be allowed to have the bylaw passed for an 18-unit townhouse development. The lands are currently zoned R5C, which permits a 6-story apartment building on the site. In 1995, council considered a rezoning of this site to an R4 zone to permit 22 townhouses. The developer never proceeded with having that bylaw advanced to council. In fact, explored a couple of other opportunities, including commercial development on the site. Never brought those forward. Recently decided that he would like to go back to that R4 zoning that was previously approved by council for this site. There isn't anything in the Planning Act that puts a termination point on a bylaw once council has approved it. There isn't anything that says it lapses after any particular period of time. So in fact, council's approval is still on the books. The developer now wishes to proceed with this development, but wishes to do some additional modifications. So if we take a look at what was approved by council in 1995, this is the slide on the left-hand side, and this was for 22 townhouse units facing onto a parking area, basically arranged in a crescent-shaped development. The developer has come back with a proposal for 18 units, so fewer units. However, he proposes that more of these townhouses will be bungalows than in the previous design. In fact, all of the units along the right-hand side of the screen, or the east side, backing onto Mountain Gate subdivision, are bungalow units. On the north and south side of the entrance driveway that comes into this development are a combination of bungalow and loft townhouse units. To accommodate those loft units, the applicant is asking for a 10-meter or 32-foot height limit on the property to accommodate those buildings. 10 meters is the same as the R1 zones in the city of Niagara Falls. As well, the applicant is proposing to increase the rear yard setback, so this is a difference from the previously considered application by council. To go to the next slide, You can see some of these proposed changes. So they propose to increase the rear yard setback to 7.5 meters or 25 feet approximately for the rear yards, so that this creates an amenity space is the same distance that we have for amenity space behind detached dwellings. There are 2 side yards for this property, so those are a minor decrease. For those flanking yards, which would be reduced to 1.8 meters or 6 feet. This is similar to what would be required for, again, a side yard of a detached dwelling. We're also looking to have this front yard setback on St. Paul Avenue reduced to 3 meters or 10 feet. This is similar to the townhouse dwellings that already exist on Shane Court immediately to the south. The developer is also looking for an increase in lot coverage to 45%, and a decrease in the landscape open space from 40% to 35%. This is in excess of the usual requirement that's required under the R4 zone, and those changes in lot coverage and landscape are a result of the larger bungalow units, which are quite popular at the moment. I already mentioned the difference in height, going from 8 meters to 10 meters, or 32 feet. And as well, there's a reduction in the building setbacks between the blocks of building. So where the zoning requires 15 meters between buildings, they would be reducing that to 13.8 meters, or 45 feet between buildings. This reflects changes in the Building Code Act. So the applicant held a meeting with the neighborhood already. The landowners within 400 feet were invited to that. Those who were in attendance were supportive of the changes. They were happy that something would actually be developed on the site. However, because there are changes in the zoning bylaw between what council considered in 1995 and now, council needs to determine whether or not those changes are significant. If they're not significant, then they can determine that no further public meeting is necessary. The staff is of the opinion that the collective changes do not constitute a significant change, and therefore further notice is not required, although, as I say, we have given a courtesy notice to the residents in the area. So the planning department is supporting the application. There is a bylaw on the council's agenda tonight that would restrict the development to townhouse development and to 18 units specifically, and recognize those specific regulations to control the development. The development will be subject to site plan approval. The 1995 zoning approval that council issued required that the residents would be invited to attend the site plan meeting and to provide input. So that condition of council from 95 is still in place. So we're recommending support of the changes that the applicant has put forward, and that the council could proceed with passing the resolution that's on tonight's agenda to say that no further notice is necessary, and then proceed with the passing of the bylaw. The council may wish to see if there is anyone in the audience.
Thank you. And we do have a request from Mr. Guy Rizzo, who wants to make a deputation, so please come forward.
Pass the resolution first.
Okay, I'm advised we should pass the resolution first, so member of council, we do have before us a resolution to permit the development describing the changes as minor in nature, so can I have a motion for the approval of the resolution? Moved by...
No,
sorry.
questions.
All right.
Why are we passing this before we get public input?
All you're passing is the resolution that you didn't require to give notice under the Planning Act. So if you don't do that, you're sort of saying that you should have given notice under the Planning Act, and that would end the matter right here.
Okay, Councilor Diaz, you're making a motion?
Okay, I'll move the resolution.
Councilor Thompson seconds that. Any discussion on the motion with regard to the resolution? Okay, having seen none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. Now we do have Mr. Rizzo.
Yes, sir. Your Worship, thank you. Members of council, staff, thank you for allowing me to speak. I live at 2627 Mountain Crest, which is immediately east of the adjoining property. And just to give you a brief history, if I may, the property is zoned for a 6-story apartment building. The developer approached the residents in the area, I believe it was in April of this year, wanting to put in a commercial development. That commercial development consisted of a 1-story development on the south side and a Tim Hortons drive-through on the north side. Initially, the residents were in favor of it, and only because it was the lesser of two evils. After having done a bit of research and talked to the residents around other existing Tim Hortons drive-through, the residents were of the opinion that we could not support a Tim Hortons drive-through, and at that point, the developer dropped the idea of proceeding with a Tim Hortons. In October of this year, the developer approached the residents again, and this time presented a drawing, which I believe is your Schedule 1 in the handout, which is the 18-unit townhouse condominiums. And just a point of clarification for the Director of Planning, at no point in any of the 3 meetings was this 22-unit complex ever discussed with the residents. So when you're telling council that we agreed to something or we were in favor of this as opposed to Tim Hortons drive-through. This 22-unit complex was never even presented. So I'm not sure where that came from, because you're actually one of your planning department people was at the meeting in October and can probably tell you that the 22-unit drawing never came up.
Well, perhaps, Mr. Rizzo, we could just qualify that for you. Mr. Hurlovich, would that be before Mr. Rizzo's time in that location? Is that...
I don't know how long Mr. Rizzo's been a resident there. What we're talking about is that in 1995, which is a drawing on the left, which is what the applicant has approval for, he didn't have approval for Tim Hortons. So the changes are from 1995, the drawing on the left to the drawing on the right, and the drawing on the right is what the residents saw, and that's what the applicant is asking for, 18 units and the configuration that the residents saw in October.
Thank you. Mr. Rizzo, does that qualify?
Not really, because in one of the letters it said that the residents were shown this 18-unit complex versus a 22-unit complex, and at no time in the 3 meetings that we've had with the developer has this 22-unit drawing ever been shown to the residents. So the residents, when they're looking at this and giving you the approval, because the developer asked for the residents to solicited the residents to send approval for this development, and there's emails included in your package, the residents are approving this or are going forward based on the fact that it's an 18-unit townhouse complex versus a 6-story apartment versus a Tim Hortons. So, having said all that, the residents do approve this. The residents are in favor of this. The developer should be commended because he's held an open process and has involved the residents. Ideally, the drawing and the development made some commitments saying that they would be bungalows, that they wouldn't have any rear-facing lofts into the residents around the property, and that's great. We're in favor of that. The reason I'm here is because in my discussions with Mr. Bryce from the city, I'd asked if the drawing that was presented to the residents could be included as part of the bylaw, and was told that drawings aren't normally part of the bylaw. So I'm not sure if that's the case. If it isn't, can we include the drawing as part of the bylaw? Can we commit the developer to building this? And if the developer at some point down the road decides that he doesn't want to build this, can this be binding on to the person that buys this?
Okay. Mr. Hill, would you like to address that?
The bylaw provisions are going to be so tight that he could only build this. It's going to be a 24 or 25 meter setback or 25-foot setback on the west side, which means that the line of townhouses is going to be exactly where that line of townhouses is. It's 1.8 meters on the north side and south side, so the building is going to be as long as you see it. What he's asking for is to incorporate a site plan into the zoning bylaw, in which case then it predetermines that we don't need to actually involve the residents into the site plan process. So I'm not sure what's gained. These are all site plan matters. The zoning bylaw is so restrictive in terms of where those buildings can be placed. That's the only place that the buildings will be. It's for 18 units. It's for townhouses.
So, Mr. Rizzo, I hope that answers your question.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, good. Anything else you'd like to present?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you very much for your deputation. So, members of council, we do have a requirement to consider the recommendations in the report, PD 2007-102. Councillor Ioannoni? Two recommendations, seconded by Councillor Peter Angelo. Thank you. Any comments further? Having seen none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation. Good. The next item on the agenda is the request for funding under the Niagara Region's pilot public domain incentives program. I'd like to call on Mr. Hilovich to answer any questions, if members of council have any questions. Councillor Thompson?
Yeah, I'd move the request for the $100,000 for the downtown.
Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Ioannoni. Any further discussion? Having seen none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. The next matter is a resolution that Council of the City of Niagara Falls supports an application to the Regional Municipality of Niagara for funding under the public domain incentives again. I'm sorry, that's previous item. Next one is the request for removal of the municipal register of heritage properties for a property known as 6565 Lundy's Lane. Moved by Councillor Ioannoni, seconded by Councillor Naves. Any discussion on this matter? Having seen none, all those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much, members of council. I have a few comments I'd like to share with you this evening. And once again, members of council, unfortunately, I'd like to extend our condolences to Jessica Ruddle of the City Clerk's Department and our former Assistant Fire Chief, Mr. Barney Ruddle, in Niagara Falls, of course, who have just recently suffered the loss of a mother and wife in Linda Ruddle. So, very unfortunate circumstance. So we're very sorry for the loss that they've endured, and our thoughts and prayers are once again with the family during this difficult time. There's been some important events as well in our community recently I'd like to acknowledge. I want to congratulate the Winter Lights Committee in our city. They did an exceptional job organizing this year's competition, and I'm pleased to say that I believe the judges had a wonderful time attending the various events in Niagara Falls this past weekend. I was pleased to see members of council at a well-attended Winter Lights events at the Pancake Breakfast at St. Pat's Hall on Saturday morning, and also the judges' reception at the Marriott on Sunday evening. The candlelight stroll was a wonderful success, and the spirit of Christmas was definitely alive and well in downtown Niagara Falls on Saturday evening. And on behalf of the members of council, I would like to thank the tireless volunteers who helped to make this year's competition a success. We look forward to the results, and we hope to be in the winner's circle once again due to this exceptional effort by our city residents. The Winter Festival of Lights cheerleading competition was held in Niagara Falls on December 1st and 2nd, and I'm pleased to offer congratulations to the St. Paul Senior Girls Cheerleading Team who won the Grand Championship. Also, many thanks to the organizing team and volunteers who helped to put on a successful large-scale event once again this year. And I'd like to take a moment to wish all of you and your families a wonderful holiday season filled with the joys of Christmas. I hope that you will get time to spend some quality time with your loved ones this holiday, and also to thank you for your efforts in the city, in our city on behalf throughout the entire year. I hope that our staff will find some time as well for reflection and will enjoy the true spirit of the Christmas season. Merry Christmas to all, and I wish that all of you a very healthy and prosperous 2008. Mr. Clerk, any additional items for consideration under... Okay. We have reports, ratification of Community Services Committee action. I'm going to call on Councillor Ioannoni as chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The following items are to be ratified from tonight's meeting of the Community Services Committee. The minutes of November 12th and 26th, 2007 meetings be approved. Under reports, PD 2007-99, enhanced funding program proposed by the Downtown BIA to advance the revitalization of the downtown, and that this report be deferred pending further information from staff. MW 2007-134, winter maintenance standards update. One, that council approved the updated winter maintenance policy plan November 2007. And two, that staff be directed to incorporate these policies into its standard operating procedures and operating budgets. And three, that a system to consider input from residents for sidewalk plowing be implemented. Under three, new business, that staff investigate traffic concerns at Mary Ward School on Dorchester Road, and I so move.
So moved by Councillor Ioannoni, seconded by Councillor Naves. Any further discussion or comments? Having seen none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. I'd like to call on the clerk for the ratification of corporate services committee actions.
Your Worship, a few items which took place just about an hour or so ago, but I'll go through them anyways. Minutes of the October 29th, 2007 meeting be approved. That $500,000 from transfers to capital be put back into the municipal works budget. That staff report back on the loose leaf collection. That the entire amount requested for funding for Niagara Falls tourism will be put back into the budget. And finally, that staff continue to work on the budget to bring any increase more in line with the rate of inflation. Those were the recommendations of the Corporate Services Committee.
Thank you. Ratification moved by Councillor May, seconded by Councillor Wing. Any discussion? Having seen none, all those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you. Once again, I'll call on the clerk for ratification of in-camera recommendations.
Your Worship, one item was considered in camera, recommendation being the following: regarding the OMB hearing on somebodies, that council reject the settlement offer by the applicant dated November 23rd.
Okay. We'll move with the recommendation. Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Carrio. Any further discussion? Having seen none, all those in favor? The motion is carried. Move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items which move the consent agenda by Councillor Carrio? I'm sorry, there's a request for listing.
Yes, Worship, I'd like to, I have questions on 2007-20.
20, yes, thank you. Any others? Councillor?
I don't have the number right there, I'll find it, but I want to pull out the one in regards to the ombudsman and the...
Now, let's just look at that for a second.
Still 130 policy.
130, sorry. Yes, 130 policies. Next one, okay. Any others? Pre-listed? Councillor Thompson?
That's the sewer and water rate structure review.
Okay, that one is...
That's 2007-04. I have a conflict on 207-132, which I've already declared. I'd like 2007-37. I have a couple of questions. And there's one here that I believe has to be discussed anyway. Regarding the paper accounts and the...
That's here. It's already been lifted?
It's already lifted.
2007-20, okay. All right, let me just say, first of all, we have been 1, 2, 3, 4 items, so we'll move, first of all, with 2007-20, regard to paper. Councillor Diodati, you want that lifted? Want to deal with that?
No, I didn't ask for it.
I'm sorry?
That was Lynn's.
That was Councillor Thompson, okay?
Yeah, I would move that Alderman Fisher get her 250 sheets of paper.
That's included in the report?
Included in the report, and that we continue with the 1/3 exemption for the councilor's remuneration.
Okay. Seconded that motion? 1/3 exemption? You can't, it's separate, you're confusing items? Mr. Clerk?
Well, through your worship, but we're not actually asking you to make that decision regarding the 1/3 tax-free allowance. There is a report that had gone to the Human Resources Committee that's attached for your information, but we do anticipate that we will be bringing that matter forward at some point during the council term. We're required under legislation to do so, but that's not sort of part of the report tonight, but we will bring it back in the new year. Okay. That wasn't very clear. Did you prepare the report?
Yes. Okay, we have a motion to deal with 2007-20 with regard to paper, moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Maves. Okay, any further questions? Having seen none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. The next item is 2007-21, Bill 130 policies. Councillor Iannone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't here the evening that this was discussed. I was wondering if, through you to the clerk, in order procedure, do I need a motion to reconsider to talk about it, or can I speak about it, then ask for a motion to reconsider? Because which one? I can talk.
I do the former, not the latter. No, the latter, not the former. Talk about it and then...
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, if anybody watched Channel 10, and I frequently do, they showed the gentleman, the ombudsman, in Fort Erie at the Fort Erie City Council meeting. And I was watching, as you all know, my son had emergency surgery that night, and I in the pre-OR, where's the TV in the council going on. So I watched it, and I watched you decide to go to the investigator. And I, for the life of me, cannot figure out why that was the direction council went. I realized Fortieri was on this rampage that he was out to get councils, and he was out, he was targeting councils. But I haven't seen us do anything that we wouldn't have put to the test of open, transparent, and accountable. I can't see, to me it's kind of like ordering a consultant's report that we don't follow anyway once council hears it. I don't understand why we would pay money for an investigator to come in and clear us when I don't think we're going to do anything that we wouldn't tell the ombudsman about in clear and open council anyway. So I don't understand why that was the reason it went. And I was wondering if we could do a motion to reconsider, and I'd like to see us actually use the ombudsman rather than pay an investigator to come in and tell us what, that we didn't do anything wrong anyway?
Well, obviously council has the authority to reconsider something, but I don't think it's very fair to consider something when you don't have the staff report in front of you anymore, and also time's of the essence. We had to make a decision before the end of the year. So, you're sort of putting the rest of council at a disadvantage when they don't have the report in front of them, which laid out the recommendations and why we should hire the LAS group. We also have a bylaw on the agenda tonight, as far as that goes, to appoint them as the investigator. It's for a 2-year time period. There may not even be any investigations launched, so there may not be any cost to the municipality anyways. I know there's been much discussion in the media about how the ombudsman's free and the LAS service isn't, but the fact of the matter is your taxpayers' dollars go towards paying for the ombudsman. Secondly, there's been discussion about how, the ombudsman's office deals with many things already under their plate and how quickly they will be able to respond to any of these investigations, while the mechanism set up through AMO, the LAS group, they will have people ready and available to respond to these in a very quick manner, and that was outlined in the report.
Councilor Ioannoni, Councilor Thompson.
Thank you, and thank you to the clerk's explanation, but my asking to reconsider this was not to put anybody at a disadvantage. I just wasn't here to debate the issue that night, and it's before us right now. So that certainly wasn't my intent, and I have to say, since we started cleaning up how we do in camera, to your benefit, we're very clear on what we can and cannot discuss in there. And I can see, just because people have the opportunity to ask for an investigation or challenge, it's going to happen. Come on. We've got community groups who half the time don't like what we say or how we do our business up here anyway. A challenge is going to come before us. Between you and Mr. Beeman, there's no way we're squeaking anything through there that we shouldn't be, and we're pretty good on counseling ourselves. That doesn't belong here, take it to an open council forum. I'm sorry, I just don't think any of us would have that discussion in there where one of us wouldn't pull the point up, do it in open council. It's at a place in here. I'd hate to see us pay for somebody to come back and say, you know what, no, they did the right thing by taking it to open council, simply because our staff and ourselves have monitored that process, and we've made sure we're open, transparent, and accountable. And I can just simply vote against the bylaw when it comes before us. But just so council's clear, the intent wasn't to put anybody at a disadvantage.
That's correct. Thank you, Councilor Thompson.
Thank you. I believe I made the motion. And I made the motion simply because I know what the rules are, and I heard that the comment, clean up our act. If the staff doesn't prevent something from being discussed in committee of the whole, in my opinion, and I go back a lot of years, then the council members will stand up and say that it's an inappropriate topic for discussion in committee of the whole. I think that very, very rarely ever happened, if it did, and therefore I don't expect that we're going to keep anybody investigating this council or any other council very busy with respect to this. And the main reason I suggested that we go with the recommendation of the report of the staff was because it's all I hear about how many files the ombudsman has on his desk, and they can't get anything done, and you're going to have a request, and you're going to be sitting around for 3 or 4 months waiting for somebody to show up just because it's going to cost a few $100s. I don't think it's going to happen. Very rarely, if it ever does, and it's probably going to be generated by political opportunism or political issues that really aren't serious. And so I think I'm completely happy with the decision we made, because I don't think we get the service in the ombudsman.
Thank you. And Mr. Clerk, you want to make another comment?
Yeah, just a few things, and I appreciate Councillor Iannone's comment. And indeed, I think our process here, as was outlined in that report a few weeks ago, is beyond reproach. And I don't have any concern about the ombudsman, the investigator, or anybody else coming and making inquiries or questioning our process. I think we've worked very hard on that process to make sure that council's comfortable and that we're in full compliance with the legislation. So, and I mean, even if somebody was to investigate and give us suggestions on how to improve it, I'm more than happy to welcome that. The one thing that I would say is that one of the bylaws that's on your agenda, I think, provides us with an opportunity. It's the bylaw on the procedures related to the closed meeting, to actually sort of weed out these sort of frivolous and vexatious type of requests, so that there won't be people who are just, making a request to challenge the authority of this council. So, I'm comfortable with whatever council decides on this. There was a discussion a couple of weeks ago when you weren't here, unfortunately, Councillor Iannone, but I must say that the motion was approved unanimously at that time.
Okay. So we'll deal with this matter again. We'll present that to you, 2007-21, Bill 130 policies, moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Carrio. All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you very much. Next item is CPS 2007-04, Water and Sewer Rate Structure Review. Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Sewer and water rate is going to be the end of me. I've had 47 meetings on this in the last several months, and all of them seem to be legitimate and have just cause for concern. I don't think there's any hurry to have this carry on. I have some questions, and I don't want to go on with a long debate about this tonight, but I would like to have this deferred and have Mr. Belowski given the opportunity to come in and look at what we're doing with this. He brought up some very legitimate concerns with respect to, you can kick your head all you want, but I'm telling you, he was told when he came here that he could come in, he would be first off the mark in the committee meeting, and he would have an hour, and he come in and he had two speakers ahead of him who had information that certainly tried to offset what he was attempting to do. Here's a guy who has worked for 2 years on this issue, and I want to give him the opportunity to do it again. And if it takes another few weeks to satisfy him with respect to that, then I have no problem with that. Especially he's not going to be meeting with me, he's going to be meeting with somebody else.
Okay, we have a request to speak by the CEO.
If I could ask Mr. Burton to speak on it, I appreciate the points that were made, and I know we've been dealing with this, and hopefully the terms of reference covers the broad issue, but there is an issue on timing, and if I could ask Mr. Burton just to speak to that.
Mr. Burton?
Your Worship, we do need a decision tonight on selecting the consultant in order to move ahead with the water rate structure review. We certainly encourage that Mr. Belowski be given every opportunity to speak to the consultant. There will be public meetings. Those public meetings will involve the council, and we certainly don't want to ignore the issues that Mr. Belowski has raised. But tonight is critical in selecting the consultant and moving forward with the planned program.
And I have a comment, if I may, Mr. Councillor Thompson. The clerk wishes to qualify with it. Okay, go ahead, please.
Through you to Mr. Burton. How much work is going to be done between now and our next meeting of City Council by a consultant? We're going into Christmas season. I don't anticipate that's going to happen. And what is the urgency for? We're not going to be changing the rates as a result until we get a consultant's report anyway. What's the urgency?
Through your Worship, the current rate structure does have in place certain programming impacts that would be felt by our billing contractor, the Niagara Falls Hydro. We do believe that there is a structure change coming due to the many difficulties that have been expressed, not only by Mr. Belowski, but by other interested residents and ratepayers. We do believe that if we're going to have this rate structure in place, our consultant needs to start immediately, so that by the end of January, we're already informing the Niagara Falls Hydro of the direction that we're going. We need to act on this immediately.
The clerk wishes to make a comment, and I have Councillor Wing after that.
Well, a couple things, Your Worship. Number one, I'm not really sure what Mr. Belowski's going to add to the report, which is really a recommendation as to which consultant to hire. I mean, I think it comes down to the proposals that have been submitted by the consultants, which are in there, and dollars and cents. The one proposal by BMA is $18,000, and the other proposal from Mr. Loudon is $21,000. I don't know what Mr. Belowski's going to tell you, other than those are what the dollar amounts are. Secondly, I think staff and council has been very solicitous towards Mr. Belowski. I think we can all, as Councillor Thompson says, I mean, he's had 47 meetings with him. I'm sure I've had about 46. I'm sure other staff have had quite a bit. And I mean, we've spent a lot of time with Mr. Belowski, giving him information. I would argue that no citizen has had as much opportunity to engage this council than Mr. Belowski. In fact, he spoke on July 23rd, although I was not present at that meeting. My understanding was that at Corporate Services he spoke for quite a length of time, and there was quite a length of time afforded to him at that time. On October the 29th, when the matter came back, we did have a full hour and a half allotted to Mr. Belowski. Unfortunately, I think we were about a half an hour delayed, but there was still an hour that was allocated to Mr. Belowski's matter. And the fact is, the other two speakers that preceded Mr. Belowski weren't speakers, they were your staff. They were Mr. Bird and Mr. McDonald, who were providing context, just like staff usually does when a report comes forward. I think anybody who was there that night knows that Mr. Belowski had a lot of opportunity to present his case. Unfortunately, his presentation, I think, left a little bit to be desired. I know I personally was trying to help explain his exhibits, which he had difficulty with. I think a number of the councilors were trying to draw out the information that he was trying to present. Having him speak for another hour on the matter, I don't think is going to serve any purpose, because this council's already given direction, which is that we engage in the consultant, and Mr. Belowski will be fully part of that process. So I think, staff has really gone above and beyond in engaging with Mr. Belowski, and the process is now at the next step, which is we hire a consultant, and Mr. Belowski will have more opportunity at that time.
Thank you for making that clear. I have Councillor Wing.
Thank you. I have a problem with the way this particular report is put together. We have the proposal from Mr. Loudon, including the adjusted proposal from him, but there's nothing from BMA, which is the consultant that staff are recommending be hired. Also, the report says Loudon is requesting significantly more compensation for the planned work. It's only a few thousand more, and if I remember correctly, Mr. Belowski himself wanted to see Loudon hired, and I think that is really the best way to go. The difference of a few thousand there isn't much. Mr. Loudon is very familiar with the situation. He's the one that wrote the report for us in 1998. He understands the situation. And right here, he says, since, at the time of adoption, the rate structure we have now is preferred for these reasons. Since that time, these other things have happened. There's now a feeling that the fixed charge component is too large compared to the volumetric component. That's exactly what Mr. Belowski has been talking about. This will be a very important issue in the review of the water and sewage rate structure. Unfortunately, I don't have anything here to tell me what BMA's take on the situation is, but I feel Mr. Loudon has a background that cannot be matched in this situation, and I think he's really got a great grasp of the situation and what exactly needs to be looked at and dealt with and recommended upon. And so my vote would be to go with Loudon instead of BMA.
Well, we have comments from the clerk.
To Councillor Wing, just to explain, I can understand why there was confusion. When we were putting the council agenda together, all we had at that point was Mr. Loudon's original proposal, which was for $35,000. Okay? have to explain this. His original proposal was for $35,000. Mr. Burden felt that that was quite a bit more than the proposal from BMA. So he brought forward that report with the proposal from Loudon. At the time we were about ready to put the package together, we got a subsequent proposal from Mr. Loudon, which was substantially less, the $21,000. So Mr. Burden wasn't able to change his report at the 23rd hour, but we were able to stick in the new proposal with the email, which is part of your agenda. So that's the explanation as to why there's two proposals from Loudon and why the Loudon proposal is there and not the BMA, and I'll let Mr. Burden speak to that. The fact is, there is a $3,000 difference, so if you feel that Mr. Loudon's past experience is worth an additional $3,000, that's up to you as council.
I can't vote for BMA because I have no idea what their proposal is or what their take on the situation is. I do know what Loudon's is. I do know his past experience in it. I do know his grasp of it. And if time is of the essence, as we've been told, and getting this consultant on board and getting going, I know this is Mr. Belowski's preference as well. My motion would be that council approves the engagement of Mr. Loudon to conduct a water and sewer rate structure review.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, seconded by Councilor Ioannoni. Any discussion further? Councilor Thompson?
Yeah, I appreciate the clerk's comments about the two people who spoke were staff. I was at the meeting and I knew they were staff, but they did have an impact on Mr. Belowski and his statements and what he was attempting to get across to council. And the reason why he wanted this deferred is because the simple fact that there was Mr. Loudon submitted a tender for a quote for $35,000. And all of a sudden, it comes in again at $21,000. And what do we have from BMA? We don't have a legitimate quote that we can even look at as council members to try to discuss. So I think the whole thing has been a mess, and I'm not going to vote for anything.
Okay. I can call on Mr. Burden again for some more qualifications. Could you just clarify a bit further, Mr. Burden?
Through the chair, my apologies for not re-presenting the BMA report, which was presented on July 23rd. We did check with the principals that the report was still valid and that the price of $18,000, including all costs, was still valid, and that they would be able to honor the timeline, as would Mr. Mike Loudon. We felt that because of the cost and the late submission of Mr. Loudon's second report, that was the best thing was to bring that decision here. I do apologize for not reprinting the actual structure review from BMA.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Burden. Councilor, I know you wish to speak again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going in circles here.
Yeah.
I mean, we had
a motion on the floor.
and we had Loudon here. It's been a long-standing relationship with Loudon. That's Mr. Belowski's concern was we didn't follow Loudon's originals, hence our motion.
Well, he'll be consulted as well, so let's put it to a vote. Councilor Fisher?
Very quickly, I have had several conversations with Ed myself. He has called me, we've had talks. And he's a very intelligent man. He knows what he's doing. I would like to hear him come and make his presentation to me again here at committee.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We're going to call the vote. Okay? All those in favor of the motion? Okay. Mr. Clerk, could you read the motion, please?
Well, the motion is to approve Loudon as the consultant on the water and sewer rate structure review.
We all heard the motion? Okay. All those in favor? Please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed? 2. Thank you. The motion is carried. Thank you very much. And the next item is 2007-37, matters arising from Park and the City Committee meeting. Is that Councilor Thompson?
One of the reports is recommending that pesticides be eliminated for lawns, and there's no report, nobody's against trying to do something beneficial for the environment, but I'm wondering if is there some report that the committee got? Is there some information that we can have? Is this something we've discussed on probably a dozen times over the last 10, 15 years, and each time there hasn't been any movement forward by the council, and yet this is just a recommendation from a committee. I'd like to know what the health aspects are. I'd like to know how this is going to impact. Are we going from turf to dandelions? Are we going to put a lot of people out of work because there's a lot of people in this field? I'd like to have some report on some of the ramifications where we just casually say we endorse a report that was submitted by a committee. Although I consider the environment to be very important, I'd like to at least have an informed decision.
Try to qualify that. Mr. Clerk, you want to make a comment first?
Yeah, through the chair, actually, there was a communication on your agenda about probably, I think, in September from a woman, Lori DeCenzo, where she was requesting that the city ban cosmetic pesticides. Our Park and the City Committee actually dealt with the issue probably about 2 or 3 years ago, I believe, and recommended against a ban at that time. This woman sent an email. It was listed on your communications. The recommendation at the time was that we refer it to Park and the City. It was referred to Park in the City as per your instructions. And the sort of other matter of this is the fact that during the election campaign, Premier McGuinty made an election campaign promise that he was going to pass legislation, provincial legislation, to ban the cosmetic use of pesticides. So really all we're saying in this report is that a letter be sent to the provincial government to see what Mr. McGuinty's plan is.
Okay.
Thank
Councillor
you.
Wayne?
Thank you. Yes, I was going to outline the same thing, the correspondence sent from this from Council of Park and City asking for a recommendation, and it was after that that the resolution from Waterloo also ended up on the Park and City Committee's agenda, and it spoke to the health hazards related to respiratory illness, adverse effects on the drinking water supply, and basically it's Waterloo City Council is calling on the federal government to immediately review and confirm the safety of all chemical pesticides, reminding the provincial government of its promise to legislate on the use and sale, and was asking for everyone to support it. And in terms of the lawn care company workers being thrown out of work, I know I've read extensive background on this, that's come through our Park and the City Committee agenda, and apparently there is a lot of work created for these lawn care companies in applying non-pesticide alternatives. So they're not thrown out of business, but business just changes and goes to something that's safer and less harmful, especially to children and people with respiratory ailments and the environment. I'm sorry, I'll move that we support the recommendation.
You move the recommendation. Is there a second to the recommendation? Councillor Peter Angelo and Councillor Thompson wishes to speak.
Well, this is the kind of information I want. I want to know what's going to happen with these people, what alternatives there are, and the individual who sent the letter in initially is not an expert in the field. I know the person individually, and I think we should, and you read the Premier's comments that they're going to ban them strictly for private lawns, for lawn care. They're not doing it for farm properties. For if it's bad in the environment, period, maybe we should be saying ban it altogether in the province rather than piecemealing it just for individual residential properties. That's all I'm trying to do. It's if we're going to do it, let's do it right, and let's have the proper information that in a report where we can critique it and make sure we make the right decision. That's all.
Okay, we have a motion to move the recommendation. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Well, it's interesting. The status quo, then, I'll move to oppose it as well. Okay. Move on. And now we have the balance of the consent agenda. Sorry? Councilor Dieri?
Still two more, 2007-20.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which I mentioned, and then the other one that I missed, 2007-132.
132 being the neighbors of St. David.
Yes.
Okay, let's go ahead with that. Let's go with that first, please.
Passed the motion on the paper one.
What's that?
No, 132.
And
Let's go ahead, neighborhood of St. David's.
TS 20, not the big one. Yeah, okay, for MW 2007-132, neighborhood of St. David's, I just wanted to make sure with this approval that, we mentioned this before in council, that it goes on title, that there be a warning notice of restricted rear access to the future purchasers. Because I know that initially they'll be told, but on future subsequent purchases, that won't be allowed. So I would make the motion, Your Worship, as an amendment to the report, that it be noted on title, that there be a warning notice of the landlocked nature of these units.
Is there a second to that motion? Councilor Pietrangelo, any discussion to the motion? Having seen none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. One abstention, one conflict. Yes. Now, Councilor Wayne?
Just a point of order, Morrissey has reminded me that there were actually two matters arising from the Park and the City Committee meeting. We dealt with one, but not the other.
Well, we had the matter with regard to 2007-37 with two items in it. Do you want something further?
Did we vote down both items?
Yes. We moved the recommendation.
What Councilor Wing is pointing out is that your debate was entirely about the pesticide issue.
Yes.
And you voted against, you turned down the report, so in essence, you've also then turned down Niagara Falls participating in the National Tree Planting Challenge, which I assume wasn't your intent.
Good point. Okay, thank you.
So I will move that till we still participate.
That's great. I appreciate that support. Thank you. Moved by second by Councilor Diodati as well. So this is with respect to the participation in the National Tree Planting Challenge. We'll call the vote. All those in favor? The motion is carried. Thank you, Rich, for qualifying that. I appreciate that. Okay, now, Councilor Diodati, dealing with that motion.
Yes, Your Worship, I have a question, if I could just find, regarding TS 2007-20, my question to that was, our staff,
excuse me.
Sorry,
The neighborhood of St. David, did we approve that? Yes. Okay, fine, let's go on. From there, you're correct. So move on to TS 2007-20.
Yeah, are we including city parking lots in that report?
Mr. Dren?
Through the chair, this is all on-street activity only.
Okay. All right, that's great.
Qualify that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's deal with the ballots. Moved by Councilor Karras, second by Councilor Maves. We heard the motion. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, are there additional items, additional bylaws amendments for the council consideration? Having seen none, I'm going to ask for a motion to introduce the bylaws. Bylaws be given a first reading. Moved by Councilor Pietrangelo, second by Councilor Diodati. You've heard the, okay, Councilor, Mr. Clerk, go ahead, please.
Take the vote.
All right. Councilor's heard the motion. Any questions or comments? None. Having seen none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Bylaws 2007-248, 2007-270, read it first time.
The motion of the bylaws is second and third reading, moved by Councilor Pietrangelo, second by Councilor Diodati. Once again, Councilor's heard the motion. Any further questions or comments? Having seen none, all those in favor? Motion is carried.
Bylaws 2007-248 to 2007-270, read a second and third time and passed.
Thank you. Any new business this evening? Councilor Diodati?
I'll be quick, Your Worship. Quickly was brought to my attention by Mr. Vince Catoni. There's a contest going on right now with Kraft in conjunction with CBC, the NHL, and the NHLPA. It's a national competition. It is a chance to win $100,000 for arena upgrades, as well as preseason NHL game and broadcasting on CBC. The way you have to do it is, all you have to do is go to the CBC website and put a story together with 3 photos. This started December the 1st. The deadline is the 5th of January. He brought it to my attention yesterday, and as well, Your Worship, he talked to you as well. He's already posted, all it is basically posting a paragraph or two on why your community deserves to win this competition. They're looking for the community that best embodies the spirit of hockey and hometown pride. They're looking for grassroots stories about pond hockey or some other interesting story. And it's something that the city has to kind of rally behind and post some stories. I know it's short notice, and I know we're short-staffed, But before anybody refers anything back to me,
Yes.
I would refer it to you, because I think it's a great idea, and I know park staff are at their limit, they've got a lot going on, but perhaps staff could find someone we could refer it to, perhaps, I don't know, Dale or somebody, but if I could just refer to staff that we at least pursue this, I'd be happy to support it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the efforts this evening also that Mr. Catone did contact us, and as a matter of maybe us carrying this forward possibly as well. So, Councilor Diodati, you would like to have a staff person have it referred to them?
And Your Worship, and Councilor Iannone brought up a great point. One of the things that makes us unique, two of the things. One is the fact that we have the In the Pink, which should give credit to our staffer, our Director of Parks and Rec, Ms. Morrissey, coming up with such a great idea. And that is very unique. And secondly, the fact that our Recreation Committee is trying to completely sell out our arena, being the first with the Guinness Book of World Records. I think it's a simple posting on the website. It's not a long task, and you need 3 photos. So our pink seat could be one of the neat photos. There's a lot of neat things, but I think that a lot of unique and neat things. So I would move that we kind of do something official on that website.
Okay. We have a second by Councilor Thompson, and perhaps then our CEO can find the suitable person. Any comments?
No.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. And then new business, Councilor Thompson.
Yeah, very quickly, I had maybe the rest of you got the email, but I talked to the individual, Mr. Mark Sturtsinger, who lives on Pettit Avenue, wanted to be here tonight, but asked if we could at least bring it up that the Morrison Street overpass, that he was surprised to read it in the paper. He lives adjacent to where the overpass is going to be, and he wanted to know why anybody with potentially direct or indirect that would be affected did not have the opportunity to have some comments, input, or to hear directly about the project. He obviously maybe Mr. Burwick could respond to it, but he's on record as being concerned about the effect on his property and would like to know when and at what time the public will be notified with respect to this. And he was talking on behalf of the people on his street. I know the importance of the project, but we also have people who would like to have the opportunity to see what impact it has on their property.
Perhaps we're going to ask Mr. Holman to address that, Councilor.
Late Friday afternoon and offered the opportunity to meet with him and any of his neighbors to address their specific concerns. He had some questions about the process. I've given him a copy of all the documents that we have.
Could you express, really, would you actually convey to us as councilors, though, the EA process, has it involved the neighbors, or will it involve the neighbors yet?
Well, the detailed zoning bill, I don't think we can go back and discuss the issue about whether crossing should be. As you know, the process involves 7 different crossing locations and all of the requirements of the municipal EA Act with respect to notices in the paper. So we wouldn't go and send notices out to anybody who might be affected with that.
Councilor Iannone, Councilor Thompson.
And just to highlight, because I spoke to him also, the whole process started two council terms ago when we did the Dorchester Road EA, and I explained to him that the residents' recommendation for the need for an overpass came out of, I think it was 3 public meetings, I think you were Mayor Wayne at the time, when we went to Optimist Park and we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Cherrywood Acres residents there. And that's how that became identified. And I explained to him, you got those notices over and over again. And he said, well, none of my neighbors were there. They were all there. If you remember the Cherrywood Acres school parents, we ended up creating a subcommittee from that council where the former councilor Pat Cummings, Paisley Jambury, went to Cherrywood Acres and did a public meeting there with the neighbors right along Pettit. We did follow the process, and they were informed time and time again. This came exactly from our Dorchester Road, many public meetings.
Thank you. Councilor Thompson.
I don't disagree. In fact, I think a lot of it stimulated from a fatality that took place right at the crossroads there, and I recall that very vividly. So the process is going through. I don't know whether this is a recent resident of the area who was not aware of it at the time. If he's been there with just the last couple of years, he obviously wouldn't have been notified. But in any case,
Been there 20 years.
well, he's got a bad mailman there or something, but anyway, regardless, he would like to, and I appreciate Mr. Holman's been in touch with him and worked with him and see whatever we can do to relay his concerns, and apparently it's up and down the street, so through him and through you, maybe we can resolve some of his concerns and bring him up to date on what's happening.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilor Nays, second by Councilor Carrier. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion stands.